People often say that America is fair and has no bottom class. But if you step into the zone in Phoenix, you'll see the very bottom of society. And it looks no different from a death camp.
We'll call it Thunderdome. Used to be called the Zone, now they call it the Danger Zone.
It's dangerous out here, man. You don't want to be out here in this part right here after that sun goes down.
Here, the so-called American dream seems to have vanished, leaving behind only filthy tents, streets overflowing with trash, and homeless people struggling in despair with nowhere to go and no place to call home. Phoenix is the place where you will witness the depths of suffering, where the lives of those left behind have turned into a daily battle for survival. In today's video, we will take you straight to the heart of Phoenix, where darkness and despair have replaced the bustling streets and bright lights. You will witness a city gradually disappearing under the pressure of the homelessness crisis, where life and hope are buried beneath thousands of makeshift tents. Phoenix, a city once the pride of America, is now witnessing a painful transformation. More than 9,700 men, women, and children are struggling with homelessness on the streets of this city every day. These numbers may be shocking, but if you take the time to walk through the old neighborhoods, you will see that this is not just a matter of numbers. This is the story of people, lives that once had stability, families, jobs, but now have to live in a society that seems to have turned its back on them. The image of tents springing up next to luxurious shopping centers or old residential areas is a stark contrast between the prosperous past and the bitter reality that Phoenix faces. Some homeless people are easily seen. They live in tents, in public parks, outside stores. But there are those who hide in vehicles, in secluded areas, or even sleep over in houses without rental contracts, with only thin walls to shield them from society's prejudiced gaze.
And it all happened so fast. I mean, I never thought. I just turned 61 too, and then...
It's hard to believe, but in Phoenix, more than half of the homeless people have to live outdoors without safe shelter. And among them, there are more than 4,500 elderly people aged 55 and older. For many people, this is not an unintended step, but the result of a series of personal tragedies. Losing a job, mental health issues, domestic violence, or simply a financial shock can cause everything to collapse overnight. These events, whether small or large, have created a no-way-out cycle, pushing thousands of people into a state of homelessness. When we look at the once bustling streets, once a symbol of a hopeful Phoenix, we cannot help but feel a profound sense of loss. Each of them, those living in tents, in cars, or simply crashing, have their own story. Behind each story is pain, disappointment, and sometimes dreams that have never come true. Are we losing something important in this society? When did we stop seeing homeless people as an indispensable part of the community and start viewing them as victims of a system we no longer care about? The American dream, is it only for those who can sustain it? Or is it a story that we all must continue to build together, leaving no one behind? Beneath the red lights of areas known as hotspots for illegal nighttime activities in Arizona, there are painful and dark stories that few truly understand. Those who participate in this world are not always outsiders. Sometimes they are people who once had dreams, but were drawn into an endless chain of tragedy. These poor people, in dire circumstances, decided to trade their dreams and lives for survival. A decision whose consequences not everyone could foresee. In areas like the 27th Avenue corridor in Phoenix, some mysterious and illegal nighttime activities take place openly. This is not just an area where those involved in these activities hide in the shadows, but also a place where they become people, trapped in a life of deprivation and despair. Although sometimes not clearly visible, the heartbreaking stories behind it are incredibly pitiable. People, especially young women and even teenagers, are sometimes lured by the promise of a better life and then get caught in a whirlpool where the more they struggle, the deeper they sink into despair. On the other side, those who lure and control the lives of others feel no guilt. They see these struggling individuals as ingredients for the nightlife industry, turning them into tools to profit from their pain. The operators of these establishments, such as the owner of the Royal Inn Hotel, have turned these places into centers for illegal activities. They have colluded with wrongful acts for many years, profiting from those without shelter and protection. The investigation into the Royal Inn Hotel began when residents in the area complained about the insecurity occurring around the hotel. Although the authorities have tried to intervene, these actions cannot completely eradicate the situation that this area is facing. The hotel owners have agreed to allow illegal activities to take place in their premises, profiting from events that should have been stopped long ago. This shows a sad reality. Not everyone in the community feels responsible or willing to help those in need. However, when the residents in the area finally witnessed the authorities taking action, they felt relieved and more at ease. This area has finally been cleaned up, and it is a testament to a community that can change if it no longer turns a blind eye to serious issues. Although this is not a complete victory, it is an important step forward. The victims, no matter where they are, still need help. This is not just the story of a few individuals, but of a society that needs to reflect and take stronger action to ensure no one is left behind. Are we overlooking the hidden corners of society, where dreams are stripped away and people are left behind? When a community remains silent in the face of wrongdoing, are we inadvertently complicit in injustice? Or is it time for us to confront the truth and take action to protect the core values of society? In the heart of Phoenix, where the city lights once shone brightly and the skyscrapers were symbols of prosperity, now lie makeshift camps where nearly 1,000 people have to live outdoors every day. The Zone, the city's largest homeless encampment, is the epicenter of this crisis. The number of people living outdoors has tripled in a year, and serious incidents occur daily, from fights, campfires, to lives suffering from mental illness or heat stroke. These numbers are not just statistics, but clear signs of a painful reality. Phoenix is not just a city facing a crisis, but a society lacking the necessary care and protection for the vulnerable. The area known as the Zone, located near the state capitol building, has now become a contradictory picture. A city that once offered dreams of prosperity now harbors its deepest tragedies. More than 4,000 emergency calls have been received by the police in just the past 4 years, stemming from heartbreaking incidents related to violence, vice, and crime. This not only reflects the increase in crime, but also signifies a sense of insecurity within the community. The residents living near this area, the business owners, no longer feel safe. They have to face unbelievable scenes: waste, urine, and human feces surrounding their shops. Some businesses are forced to clean manually every day, while their employees are threatened, physically harmed, and unable to work in such an environment. But it's not just numbers and events. Behind them are the painful stories of the homeless. Aisha, a person who lost everything and even the fragments of her dreams due to the fire in the refugee camp.
When you come home to nothing and you already don't have nothing, bad thing after another. And I'm not perfect, but God, I just need a break.
These stories are not just of a few individuals, but of a society facing its own tragedies. People like Aisha have shattered dreams, but they are also those who yearn for an opportunity to change. They are not people that society can ignore, but society has forgotten them, leaving them to struggle in the dark without a way out. Support organisations like Human Services Campus are doing their utmost to provide services for the homeless. However, these centres can only accommodate about 900 people each night, while another 860 people have to sleep outside. With the increasing operational costs and reduced support funds, This system is gradually being pushed into a financial crisis. However, despite the city's meaningful efforts, they are still not enough to address the root of the problem. Short-term solutions, such as opening small camps and temporary shelters, still cannot meet the actual needs of the homeless community, exacerbating the situation further. The homelessness crisis in Phoenix has never been a simple issue to resolve. Every day, as we confront the numbers and the painful stories, the question that always lingers in our minds is, are we doing enough to protect these vulnerable people? Have we lost something important by turning our backs on them? This question is not just Phoenix's, but ours as well. Those of us who are responsible for rebuilding the fundamental values in society. In Phoenix, a city that has witnessed strong development for decades, it is now facing an unavoidable reality: skyrocketing housing prices, pushing thousands of residents into homelessness. This is not just a financial issue, but a profound loss of dreams, the dream of a safe and stable home. While rental prices have skyrocketed, many families have been unable to maintain their housing and are gradually being pushed out of the places they have been attached to for their entire lives. In 2025, the cost of renting an apartment in Phoenix nearly doubled over the past few years, forcing many families to choose between paying rent or meeting other basic needs such as food, healthcare, and education. For those with low incomes, this is an almost unacceptable decision. But it's not just low-income families who are struggling with rent prices. Even middle-class people are facing the threat of losing their homes. The neighborhood, where people once lived in a peaceful community, has now become a place filled with anxiety and fear. The rental prices have exceeded what most people can afford, forcing many residents to face the situation of being unable to maintain long-term housing. This issue is not only a financial challenge, but also a wake-up call about the loss of fundamental social values. The dream of home ownership, one of the most important things in American society, is gradually becoming a distant concept for millions of people. Are we losing something very important in this society when even average workers can no longer maintain a stable life because they can't afford rent? If the dream of a home is no longer a reality for struggling families, is society still fair? When a community struggles with the increase of homeless camps and crime, one of the most evident consequences is the severe deterioration of security and mental health. Areas like the Zone are not only places where homeless people live, but also where they face dangers that not everyone can see clearly. Crime not only affects those living in tents, but also poses a constant threat to the surrounding community. The roads around this area have become a public playground for criminals, and the police cannot handle every situation. Fights, thefts, and violence continuously occur, pushing the lives of local residents into a state of constant stress. The community and surrounding businesses, which have already been facing unsanitary conditions and the impacts from the homeless population, now have to endure additional pressure from the rising crime rate. Some business owners stated that not only their employees are affected, but even customers do not feel safe when approaching this area. The sight of urine, human feces, and litter scattered around, though shameful, is the reality they have to live with every day. Looking at this reality, the question is not just whether we can help someone overcome a crisis, but also, can we create a system strong enough to support these people, help them regain hope, and truly reintegrate into society? Homeless people are not a simple problem to solve, but without coordinated and long-term intervention from society, we risk leaving an entire generation living in the darkness of despair. As the homelessness crisis continues to escalate in Phoenix, one of the concerning policies being implemented is the criminalization of homeless individuals. This policy not only reflects a lack of understanding of the nature of the problem, but also demonstrates injustice in the treatment of the vulnerable in society. Instead of providing humanitarian solutions, the authorities and relevant agencies sometimes choose to address the issue with punitive measures, pushing the homeless into even more difficult situations. In Phoenix, homeless people are frequently penalized by the police for sleeping outdoors, scavenging, or even just sitting in public parks. These actions, in the eyes of the authorities, are considered illegal acts and have a negative impact on public order. But for those struggling to survive on the streets, these acts are not a choice. They are a matter of survival. They have no choice but to find shelter, even if it's just a sidewalk or a public park. This policy not only exacerbates the plight of the homeless, but also creates a vicious cycle. When they are penalized and receive fines, they not only lose the opportunity to find legal shelter, but also face detention, which increases their financial and social burdens. Being arrested and sent to prison, although it seems like a cure for homelessness, actually makes it even harder for them to reintegrate into the community and find job opportunities after being released. Are we creating a system that only punishes without providing practical solutions to help the homeless change their lives? This criminalization system does not address the root causes of the problem, such as poverty, lack of housing, or mental health issues, but instead turns the homeless into criminals in the eyes of the law. They are not treated as people in need of help, but as criminals rejected by society. This shows that the issue of homelessness cannot be solved by criminalizing those who are struggling in life. Can society reconsider the way we treat the homeless and replace punitive measures with more humane solutions that help them regain their lives? If there is no change, we will not only continue to leave a large part of society behind, but also create an unjust system, pushing the vulnerable into an endless cycle of injustice. The homelessness crisis in Phoenix is not just an issue for those who have to live on the streets, but also a profound community crisis that affects all layers of society. From the homeless, businesses, to the government and social organizations, everyone has their own perspectives on this situation, and each viewpoint reflects a part of the complex picture that Phoenix is facing. The homeless are perhaps the group most directly and severely affected by this crisis. They not only have to fight against the basic elements of life, such as lack of food and drinking water, but also face stigma and discrimination from society. However, behind each homeless person lies a unique story. These people did not fall into this situation naturally. They are often people who once had stable jobs, a small family, and a life full of promise. But then, just one financial shock, a divorce, or the loss of someone can change everything. These events, whether small or large, have created a no-way-out spiral, pushing thousands of people into a state of homelessness. Businesses and local residents view this situation from a different perspective. Business owners in the areas surrounding neighborhoods with many homeless individuals face difficulties in maintaining their operations, as the areas around their stores become hotspots for crime. Some residents shared that they have had to deal with employees being threatened and assaulted, while cleaning up trash and maintaining hygiene has become a daily task they cannot ignore. The increase in crime and insecurity has created an unlivable environment, not only for the homeless but also for businesses and residents trying to maintain a normal life. However, some other residents in the community feel frustrated that the government's measures are not strong enough, and this situation continues to recur without any significant change. The government and social organizations are perhaps the neutral parties in seeking a long-term solution to this issue. Policies have been implemented, such as opening more shelters, deploying support centers, and establishing controlled camping areas. But despite the visible efforts of the authorities, these solutions are still not enough to address the issue thoroughly. In reality, support organizations cannot meet the needs of thousands of people requiring assistance every day. Even with additional support funds, the issue of financial and resource shortages remains a significant challenge. The authorities also face community dissatisfaction when they cannot find sustainable solutions, while also facing criticism for lacking stronger intervention measures. For each group in society, this crisis brings a different perspective. The homeless feel abandoned by society, businesses and residents feel unsafe, while the government and social organizations feel stressed trying to solve an overly complex problem with limited resources. However, in all these perspectives, there is still a common point: the necessity for a synchronized, long-term and fair solution so that no one is left behind. This situation raises a significant question for society as a whole. Can we find a way to solve the homelessness problem without creating divisions among different groups in the community? Or will we continue to face an endless cycle where temporary solutions only help alleviate the symptoms without addressing the root cause of the problem? While efforts from the city of Phoenix are being implemented to address the homelessness crisis, the future of this city remains extremely uncertain. Temporary solutions such as expanding shelters, building controlled camping areas, and increasing the intervention of social organizations clearly only address the surface of the problem. However, when looking at the bigger picture, one cannot help but wonder whether Phoenix can overcome this crisis, and whether those struggling in these difficult circumstances can find a sustainable way out in the future. One of the key factors is the shortage of affordable and sustainable housing, which not only affects the homeless, but also impacts the entire social structure of Phoenix. Although the city has expanded shelters and built tiny home communities for the homeless, these measures only address a small part of the problem. The questions about the future of Phoenix are not only about whether it can solve the homelessness problem, but also about how this city will reshape its future in a society where injustices are increasingly on the rise. Will Phoenix be able to become a place where everyone has equal opportunities, where no one is left behind? Or will it continue to slide into an uncertain future, where each day is just a struggle for survival for the most vulnerable? One of the concerning issues is the lack of synchronized cooperation between government agencies, social organizations, and the community in addressing this problem. Although there are efforts to support the homeless, the lack of a long-term plan and strategic vision could cause Phoenix to repeat the old cycle, addressing the symptoms while neglecting the root causes. We need systemic solutions, where not only housing issues are addressed, but also support services for health, education, employment, and social welfare. Will Phoenix be a city of recovery, where people can start anew, or will it continue to face insurmountable challenges? The answer lies in the city's ability to create a sustainable future for all its citizens, not just as a place of shelter, but as a community where everyone has the opportunity to thrive, with no one left behind. Phoenix, like many other cities in the US, is facing a homelessness crisis that is not easy to resolve. The alarming numbers regarding homelessness and the rise in crime are just the tip of the iceberg of a deeper issue: the shortage of affordable housing, the weakening of the social safety net and mental health services, and a community that is gradually losing faith in the ability to change. Although there have been significant efforts from the city and community organizations, this issue has not yet been fully resolved. The movement of the victims from one camp to another shows that the issue of homelessness is not just a crisis of living space, but a deeper story about how society treats its most vulnerable. Can we continue to see homelessness as an issue that can only be addressed with temporary measures? Or is it time for us to recognize and tackle the root causes of this crisis? Please share your thoughts on the homelessness situation in Phoenix and other cities. What do you think about long-term solutions for this crisis? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss out on in-depth stories and analyses of the important social issues we face together. This video reflects a perspective based on public data and real-life observations. The content does not represent any individual or organization and is not intended to criticize or accuse. All opinions and information in the video are presented with the aim of raising awareness and sparking discussions about important social issues. We encourage viewers to learn more from various sources and participate in community support activities.